I'm Anna Johnson-Hill and I'm an author, speaker and coach at annajohnsonhill.com. And today I'm presenting in the afternoon to a group of exchange students who have been in Australia for either 6 months or a year, and they're finally leaving Australia and they're having a graduation ceremony. So I'm going to be a guest speaker and I'm going to be telling them about a horror story from when I went on my exchange to the University of Massachusetts. So hopefully it's still inspiring for them. But when I first took the bus trip into Amherst, which is where UMass is located, I came across this sign that said Johnson and Hill. And it was this big employment agency, and the fact that I saw Johnson and Hill, that was the first sign that I was exactly where I needed to be. And the reason that was so significant was because of the less than ideal first week that I'd had in the US. So in my first week, to take you back to 2013 and my first week in the US, it was the end of December. I arrived on the 28th of December. So the day before I was on a family holiday because it was just Christmas, and in Australia it's hot for Christmas time, and we went to the beach. And so I went to the beach and got very, very sunburnt. Probably the worst sunburn I've had in my life. And it was the day before I had to get a 30-hour flight over to New York. The first thing that happened was I met my friend Sophie at the airport. She was heading off to the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. So I met up with her, and then we tried to book into our flight, but we were flying with Air Canada. And so our flight went from Sydney to Toronto and then Toronto to New York. And they said because it took 20-something hours to make it to Toronto in the first place, that we wouldn't be able to check in for our second flight from Toronto to New York. And we'd have to do that once we got to Toronto. So we are like, alright, well I guess we can't check in then. There wasn't really anything we could do about that. So we set off on our journey. I'm there applying aloe vera cream to my skin every hour because it was so bad, like first-degree burns. I'm sitting there so uncomfortable, but I was like, okay, I've just got to apply this aloe vera cream every hour and I'll get through this. Next, we arrived in Toronto and they tell us that we are too late to book into the next flight. So they give our seats away because we're too late. They've already given the seats away. And we're like, oh my god, in Sydney they said we weren't allowed to check in because we were too early and now we're too late. Like, what were we supposed to do about that? And so they check in our bags and everything, and we're just left waiting there for a flight. Next thing was Sophie lost her passport, so she was in tears, and oh my god. So she's without her passport. Luckily, we ended up finding it, but like, how many things can go wrong on one flight? Then eventually we get a couple of seats on the next flight and we make it to New York, and we're like, okay, now we're in New York, so let's just enjoy it. Like, now is the time to just forget about what's happened and enjoy our time. So we go to the bathroom as soon as we get off the flight and we just freshen ourselves up with the toiletries that we brought with us. And we walk out and we are just invigorated and ready to attack New York. And then we walk to the baggage carousel and watch it go round and around and around, and of course, our bags aren't there. So it's like, alright, okay, no bags, great. Considering I was wearing the lightest clothing that I possibly could because of my sunburn, I couldn't wear any heavy clothing, and I was walking out into -1 degree Celsius weather, and that's probably the coldest weather I've ever been in. Okay, so we walk out, we get our taxi, we make it to the hostel without our bags, and then a few days later our bags arrive, which is great. But during those few days where it's been so cold and I haven't had the appropriate clothing, I've managed to get really sick. So sick that I couldn't move from my bed, and I was coughing up blood and I couldn't eat, and I was just lying there, and I couldn't even explore New York, which was the reason I was there. So I didn't even care if somebody came in and took my bags and ran away, because I wouldn't have been able to move or do anything about it anyway. And I just didn't care. I just like had it at that point. Then what happened? Then luckily, my friend Stephen, who lived in New York, he'd been on exchange to my university in Australia. He lived in New York and he was going away for an astronomy conference for a week, and he said that I could have his room while he was gone, which was awesome. But, you know, I was still just lying in bed the whole time. The only thing that I ate for that entire week was a jar of Vegemite. So that was my very first week in New York, which is why when I got to Amherst, and we drove past, well, we were driving to Amherst. When we were driving in, we went past this sign that said Johnson & Hill, and when I saw that sign, I was like, okay, that's a sign that everything is going to be okay from now on. It probably doesn't even make sense, but I just felt like, okay, everything will be fine. And it was, and that first week was my worst week overseas, and the next 7 months were so much fun, the best 7 months of my life. So it also taught me that the struggle always comes first. The struggle comes and then the breakthrough, then the success. Struggle, then success. It taught me that I can get through any like horrible situations, whatever life throws at me, I can get through that. And it's what I teach. It's what I inspire and support and challenge millennials to do through my business now, is to step outside their comfort zones and have the confidence to create the ideal life that you want to create for yourself. So no matter what terrible things happen, just have that commitment to creating an awesome life. So yeah, that was my horror story from my first week overseas, but I learned a lot from it. And if you're considering going on exchange, I would say totally do it, because you will learn so much about other cultures. You'll be able to share your own culture with them, and you'll learn so much about yourself as well, and you'll develop an inner strength and self-awareness. So there's only good things that I can really say about traveling, because even when the bad stuff happens, you always learn something from it anyway. So go on exchange if you have the opportunity to do that. And thanks for watching this video. I hope it helped you if you're trying to make that decision right now. And if you have a horror story, please leave it in the comments below. I would be very interested to hear what horrible things have happened to you overseas and how you were able to overcome those. And yeah, so thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and leave a comment of any other videos you might be interested in me doing as well. And thanks for watching today. I hope you have the best day ever, and be kind to anyone who crosses your path, because there is a lesson to be learned in anything that ever happens to you and anyone that crosses your path. So yeah, I've got to stop. I say so a lot. So. So I'm going to try and say so less. I hope you have the best day ever, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! Okay. So,